There we go. So welcome everyone. Last one for this year. Just as Steve was talking there, yeah, we have been doing quarterly updates rather than the monthly update, and that's just because we've not really had much attendance. One, two, maybe three people. So yeah, we're not too sure, to be honest, what to do for next year. You know, this is probably our biggest turnout all year tonight. So we need to have a chat and see if it's worthwhile doing next year. We might not at all. So that'd be a bit sad, but it is what it is. So here's the quick agenda. We kind of go through some new features. John talks about some design. I talk about some dev, if there is any, and we'll try and finish sharply as soon as we can, so you can get off and get something to eat, or Steve, you can get back to working with your clients or go to bed, whatever you want to do. Here's who we are. I'm Will, if you haven't met me before. I have been in WordPress since 2006, 2007, primarily a developer. So at the moment, I do a lot of consulting. I do a little bit of training as well for companies and developers. And yeah, we've just finished doing the WordCamp Sydney, which was a 2-day conference in Sydney, which was great. 2 days. That was November the 2nd and 3rd. All the videos for all the speakers are up on YouTube. So you can search for WordCamp Sydney 2024 and you can watch all those wonderful videos. But at the moment, I've got a couple of clients I'm working on, some interesting things that they do. I try and not niche down too much and just go with the more interesting type of jobs that I can do. And yeah, just looking forward to this coming break. It's been a busy last quarter of the year. John, over to you. Do you want to give a quick intro?
Thank you, Will. Yes, I am John, and I'm the design side of things here. I run my own design agency, johnwolfgangdesign.com. Check it out. And I've been using Elementor for, I always forget what it is, but let's say 5 years now. It's for a long time, basically, and I absolutely love it. And I just kind of like almost refuse to use any other page builder now. And what I have had recently is a lot of sort of clients coming to me just going, my website's an absolute mess. Can you fix it? I'm like, I could fix it, but it'd probably take me longer to learn whatever program you're using than it would just to rebuild it again, just start again from scratch using Elementor, which doesn't always go down too well in terms of budget, but it's my way of doing things. Yeah, so we'll take a look at the design updates in Elementor today. Back to you, Will.
Cool. Thanks, John. We do have a code of conduct. So it's on elementor.com/community code of conduct for that. It's a big long document, but basically we're here to be respectful and just be nice to everyone. That's basically what it means. We've introduced ourselves. I have a cup of it's decaf tea. Decaf tea. Which because I love hot drinks.
But I've kind of finished it all now, so.
But we'll open the floor if you want to just give a little quick introduction, who you are, what you do, maybe how long you've been working with Elementor, or maybe a recent project. So if you want to, the floor is open to everyone just now, and also let us know what you're drinking. It's very important.
I'll start. Jenny Power I've got a small business called WebTree, and I'm in Canberra. Been building business websites for 15 years. Been using Elementor for about 2.5 years. Yeah. And I resonated with you, John, that I'm just about there. I can't be bothered with anything else other than Elementor now. It just takes too long.
It just does everything you need it to do, doesn't it? So
yeah. Yep.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, so I'm Paul Shipley. I've been running my own sort of web design computer consultancy now for about 5 years, since I retired. And yeah, I've been using Elementor the whole time. So I think it was about a year old when I first came across it. So that's how long I've been using it. I love it. I'll totally agree with you, John, that everything I do now, I have a stack of things. You know, if somebody wants a slider, I use Smart Slider 3. I don't care if it's not the best or whatever. It's just, that's the one I use. And it's the same with Elementor, the thing, and even in my own hosting. You know, if you want to work with me, I have my own hosting. If you want to use different hosting, sorry, you don't work with me. And that just has, it just works because then I have a standard stack. I know exactly how everything works. If someone has a problem, I know where the problem is going to be. And every time I have to convert somebody across to me, a new customer, I inherit this old site, and it's like, what is this thing? You know, and so, yeah, invariably I convert it to Elementor, but just trying to work out what it is and how it works. And I've just looked at the site today, and it hasn't had any WordPress or plugin updates for between 2 and 3 years. A lot of the plugins are reporting that they haven't been tested with current version of WordPress. And I'm thinking, I'm not even touching that because that's just a disaster. I've just told the client, you know, we need to get this off straight away. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. Anyway, I've ran on, so please go on.
No, that's good to know.
Thanks, Paul. Anyone else like to introduce themselves quickly?
Oh, poor Martin.
Martin, your voice is not coming across at all.
He's got the chipmunk disease.
Yeah, he sounds like a chipmunk.
Yeah, I think you've got some setting on there where it's got some sort of a audio overlay.
Anyway, I already introduced myself, but I'm
any better
Steve from
now?
the United States, California. And I've been doing Elementor for since May of 2019, so 5.5 years or something.
Thanks, Steve. Martin?
Is it any better now?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's better.
Oh, I've switched
Bravo,
from
mate.
my webcam to my earbuds.
There you go.
So
Earbuds to the
I'm
rescue.
Martin from Chatham in Brisbane. And we do factory automation, so we do a wide range of services for our clients. Websites come up quite often, and we've done our website about 6-7 years ago in Elementor. And you know, for us, reusable technologies that is not just the whim of the moment is important, because I just can't go and relearn things all the time. It is a bit worrying what's going on with the WordPress people at the moment. And you know, the fact that they keep on pursuing this stupid block thing that they're building, this Gutenberg block, they should have just bought out Elementor, I think. But you know, some people are, you know, not that smart. So, but I'm hoping that Elementor stays around a long time, because it makes life easy for me anyway, to do good things that are scalable.
I agree full-heartedly on all points. Thanks, Martin. Anyone else? Ashore, Bridget?
Yeah, I'm Bridget. I've been working with Elementor for 3 years now. I do event web design, so a lot of event websites. I attended my first WordCamp, I think a month ago now. I met Will in person. Good to meet you, Will. Yeah, and I like to come to these meetups just because you learn things that you don't normally would learn by yourself.
Cool. Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ashur. I'm from Sydney. I've been working with Elementor for about less than 3 years. Still learning. Yeah, I think it helps a lot. I do some for personal projects. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. I can't see anyone else who's waiting to join, so let's just share my screen again. Okay. Here we are. So Elementor, if you want to know exactly what's happening in Elementor, there's quite a few places that you can go. Let's see. I did have someone in chat. There we go. Post that. There's the links on the slides. So the free changelog is on WordPress.org, just in the plugin. So you can see what changes the core So obviously, you know, running Elementor, you got to run Elementor Free, which is the core product, and then Pro enhances it. So always keep an eye on the Elementor Free changelog to see what's coming up, what changes, because that reflects across both products. But there's a separate changelog for Elementor Pro as well, and that's on the elementor.com website, the link there. And then there's quite handy if you're a developer or designer or kind of straddle between the two of them there. It's quite useful to visit developers.elementor.com because for every release they've got a developers update. So there's 2 links there for 3.25 and 3.26, which is still in beta. But they do quite a good dig down on all the features that have been updated. I wish every plugin went to as much detail in the changelog and updates that Elementor does. But it's really, really useful to read through those developer updates. Even if you're not a developer, it just goes through, you know, what the changes are in quite detail. So you get to know exactly what's changing, what's being updated, and kind of the reason why. So there's that. And then there's elementor.com/roadmap. Now, the roadmap is exactly the same as it was last month. They have not changed it one bit at all. So I don't know whether they're on holiday in Israel or, you know, they're just giving up for the year. But I'm going to keep an eye on this, have a look in January and see if it changes. But it's not changed any at all in the last 3 months. So it's still got planning for motion effects. There's enhanced WooCommerce builder, which has been on there for quite a few months now. Advanced form builder features, which I'm really, really keen on. I use forms an awful lot across Elementor and across all my businesses. I use the API extensively and customize it to integrate with a whole bunch of bespoke systems. So I'm really interested to see what additional things they're going to be bringing in that advanced form builder. CSS selectors is one that I'm really, really keen to see as well and test that out. I think I did a little demo of that last quarter. So that's basically you can assign a CSS class to a particular widget, and then you go and define the CSS class. And then whenever you use that particular widget across the entire site, all you need to do is change the class and it reflects across the entire widgets of the site. So it makes rebranding and changing things site-wide really, really easy. Just with, you know, change the class and it reflects across all the widgets rather than having to go in each widget and change fonts and colors and stuff, which is a bit of a pain if a client comes to you and say, actually, you know that purple that I really liked, well, we're going to change it to blue. You're like, oh, no, every button, every widget, every this. So I'm really looking forward to the CSS selectors. Team collaboration, not so fussed about that. I think the notes thing is quite useful that they've got in there just now. But as far as collaboration, like real-time stuff, yeah, I'm probably not so fussed about that. So that's the stuff that's in planning. Hopefully that'll change a little bit. Maybe it'll move to in progress in the new year, but I always keep an eye on this roadmap just to see what's coming up and how I can work those into my design strategies. So this quarter has been very, very quiet with new features. So last quarter, we had a whole ton of stuff that came in. This quarter, they seem to have been just looking more at enhancing and updating and fixing some of those things there. So there are 2 new features in Elementor. One is the pagination in the live search results. So live search results was one of the new things they rolled out last quarter. And if you're not familiar with it, then it's a widget with a search bar. You type in stuff and it drops down a little box underneath the search widget and it gives you live Ajax results for those. But it limited it to, I think it was 5 results, 5 or 6 results. And then what you had to do is, and you had no idea you had to do this, but apparently if you went up and clicked on the search again, it would show you the next 4 or 5 results, but nobody ever knew that was even there. So now it drops down the search results, but it's got like a plus and a minus or the chevrons on the side. We actually spin through all the different results. So it's pagination built into the drop-down results, which is really nice and is a lot quicker for people to use. I do love that live search, by the way. I've added that to my websites. I've added that to client websites as well. I think it's a lot better than the general WordPress search where it shows an archive and you've got to scroll through, and the search in WordPress is pretty rubbish anyway. So loving that pagination. That's a thumbs up for me. There's one called Anchor Offset Control, and I think, John, you're going to be demoing these, I think. So Anchor Offset Control is useful as well. You'll know yourself as you're designing stuff for clients that clients are usually pixel perfect. So when they're clicking on something and it jumps to the website and it's cutting things off, then, that's just a bane of your existence as a developer designer. So this anchor offset is meant to change when you click through links into different pages. You can actually go directly to the page you want rather than the header bar or something getting in the way. And that's it for new stuff. Unfortunately, I always like to do new stuff, but as I say, we've been a bit shorter on that this quarter. But there are some updates on things. Conditional CSS style loading. Last quarter, they made a huge performance update. They changed the way that CSS files load in. So that you get a whole lot of performance updates from that. It's only loading CSS styles that it actually needs based on the widgets that you are dragging into your page. So that's made things an awful lot quicker. It's really, really good. So I'm happy to see that. There's a new experiment. You have to switch it on. It's called Optimised Markup Experiment, and it aims to reduce the amount of elements on that particular page. And again, this is based on what widgets that you're dragging into your particular page, what you're building with. Then it tries to reduce the amount of scaffolding and elements that it needs to display, that sort of stuff. So I'll be interested to see exactly what that does. I've not played around with that one yet, but I will do over the holidays. Again, kind of more under the radar improvements, but there's improved screen reader support. So all the ARIA stuff that you should put into client websites when you're developing it. Then there's greater support for exactly what it outputs to screen readers across all the different widgets in Elementor. So that's massive. That's really, really good. Happy to see that. And something that was internally a little, just like a little play around, it has now moved into kind of a major experiment, and that's the migration of JavaScript function to CSS. So as CSS gets more stuff and more capabilities, I think there's even for loops proposed in CSS now, but the more functionality CSS gets, then the less requirement on bespoke JavaScript files, which means you don't have to load another JavaScript asset file and makes it faster. So I'm happy to see this. I'm been interested to follow what they've been moving across from JavaScript to native CSS, but I'm all for those updates. And again, accessibility for carousels. So again, you can actually change and specifically output what's going to screen readers and what key bindings you can press for the carousels across all the different widgets. So that's the main stuff. There's a whole heap of fixes and updates as well, but those are the main things that I've pulled out of the change logs for this quarter. Here, what they've done with the loading styles, conditionally loading styles, is actually they've taken it all the way back to when you open up the Elementor editor and edit a page or a post or a template, then there's nothing. There's no styles loaded in at all. So they've paired it all the way back. They've turned it on top of its head. So it doesn't load any styles. As soon as you start adding a widget to there, then it will conditionally load styles for those. So that's great. The speed improvement for that has been noticeable for that. So you really saving, I think they're saying saving up to about 700 kilobytes, which is a huge amount if you're loading pages. So it's really easy now, especially on your kind of your main pages, your landing pages, to get those pages well under 1 second or well under 2 seconds to really optimize that for Google. So really, really happy about that. If you want to add more, read more about that, here's the particular link for that on the blog. That just tells you exactly what they've been doing to those style sheets. 3.2.6 is the latest one that's in beta at the moment. There's a couple of things that's new in there. One is called dynamic off canvas for loop grids, which is a bit of a mouthful. You won't want to say that when you've had a few beers. But essentially what it allows you to do is, if you're familiar with the loop grid, you build up your own loop grid for products or anything you want to display. And now you can also associate an off canvas div container for each particular item in that loop grid. So for example, if you're looking at a whole bunch of shoes, or if you're looking at TVs from an electrical store, then you can have a button that says more information. And then it can bring in an off canvas box with more detailed information for that. So it's a great way of building out stuff that need more information. So you're just displaying the basic information to people that they can spin through and see, product description, image, that sort of thing. And then if they want detailed information specs, you can click on a button and it brings up an off-grid, an off-canvas box for that. So I'm really excited for that. I can think of half a dozen of my clients who will love that feature. So I'll maybe go back to them and see and write a proposal to update their website again with that. But again, it's in beta. I don't know when that will make it into the actual. I don't know when 3.2.6 is going to be released, but we'll see if that turns into an actual feature. The other one is ad block detection trigger. So this one has come out of left field. I don't know where that one came from, but there's more and more people using ad blockers across lots of different web browsers, and to get rid of all the guff websites get up. But this is quite an interesting little feature they've put in. So they've tried to detect the most popular types of ad blocking systems, and if they do detect it, then it pops up this little, again, it's ironical, but they pop up this box that says, oh, we've noticed you've got an ad blocker in place. Actually, this website really needs to use pop-ups. So, if you can disable it, and the book got the code to disable the most popular ad blocks just with a click of a button. So it's a really neat way if you know your client is being plagued with, customers not being able to get to this stuff because of ad blockers. This might be something that you can try out with them. If it auto detects the ad blocker and disable it temporarily for that. So yeah, I've not tried that personally. I don't know how good it is. I don't know which ad blockers it works with and which ones it doesn't, or if it works well or doesn't work well. But again, that's in beta. So it's something to test out, I guess, over the holiday period. John, do you want to kick in with your demos just now, or do you want me to go through?
Yeah, I can jump in and do my bits.
Yeah, just to break up so I'm not waffling on all the time.
Yeah, okay. Let me just go share my screen. Okay, so yeah, we're just going to take a quick look at the two new features that Will just talked about there. These are literally the only two new things to talk about, and they're not big changes really. They're kind of like very small changes to something that was already there, but they're actually both really useful. And it'll also just help me show you where they came from or what they're using basically. So the two things that we will take a look at, the first one is the anchor offset. And Will briefly talked about this, and it's saying things need to be pixel perfect. And when an anchor link can become a problem is if you are using a sticky header, a sticky nav bar, because it will basically sit on top of what you're trying to anchor link to. So I'll show you how to fix that problem. And then the other thing is the pagination for the live search results, which, as you can see in the image there, is just going to throw in these extra numbers before, whereas before you had a limit on what you could show. And if you have a website that has a hell of a load of posts, it is very, very useful. So I'll just quickly show you what both things are and how they work on a couple of sites that I run for my clients. So this is the first one. This is out and about with kids. I often use this one as an example because we do quite a lot on this website, and this is for traveling mostly around Australia, but also around the world with your kids. And what we have on this website now is we have landing pages for all of the main spots in Australia, some of them in the rest of the world, but mostly the ones in Australia. And here is an example of one for the Gold Coast. These are great pages. Our users love them because they kind of have a little bit of everything in there. It's kind of like a little guidebook itself, kind of a Lonely Planet thing. And to improve navigation on this, we use anchor links. So one of the first things you can see is these little buttons here. And if I was to click on one about theme parks, it doesn't take me to another page. It takes me to a certain section on this page. However, what happened was it brought me down to this image where it should have brought me to was slightly higher up above here where it says Gold Coast theme parks. And what happened was it did take me to that, but the sticky nav bar was sat on top of it. Just to let you know quickly how we set up anchor links. If you've never set one of these up before, it's so easy. You just click on elements and then you add in this one, which is the menu anchor. You can see the little anchor icon there, and it's just an invisible gray box. And you give it a name. So I've called this one Theme Parks. And then if you go to the button on your page, or multiple buttons, multiple places you would like to direct people to that point, click on the button, and then in the link, rather than putting in a full URL of where you want to go, you just do a hashtag and then paste in theme parks. It's as simple as that. So the problem is that's set up correctly, but when I click on theme parks, it takes me to this point. Should go up there. What I need is an offset of about 100 pixels. And this is so easy to do. You just do it in the header. Why do you do it in the header? Because the header's on every single page. So this is my header for this website. And what you want to do is just click on the container that everything sits in. So choose that in your structure, just your first container up here. So you can see it's got the pink line around it. So choose everything. Then over here on the left, click on advanced. Just going to take that. Then click on motion effects. And what you can see here is that I have it set up as a sticky navbar. It is sticky to the top, and this is sticky on desktop, tablet, and mobile. And this little section down here that you can see where it says anchor offset, that is the new thing that Elementor have added in. It's currently set to 0 pixels, so there's 0 offset, but let's set it to 100 pixels. And then click to publish that. This may take a few seconds to load. My internet's horribly slow in this house. Then if I go back to the page and I reload it, and then go back up to where the button was, and click on theme parks, it takes me to the right point. As you can see, there is now a big gap above where it was meant to go. Before, it was cutting off there, so I couldn't see I was in the Gold Coast one. And that's cutting off an image, whereas sometimes it can just literally cut off part of the text. So it's as simple as that. Add in the anchor offset in the header, and every single anchor across your entire website will now go to the right point. It will not sit behind your sticky navbar. Very simple, very easy, very good. And yes, I now have to go through every single website I've ever worked on and update that one. The second thing to show you is in the live search option. And if you were here for our last meetup 3 months ago, I talked about this one then. It's actually really, really good. And Will briefly talked about this. The way the search box previously worked is if I go to this one up here, and let's say I want to find out something about Tokyo. This is a website that I work on for traveling in Japan. Normally, if I put in the word Tokyo, I put it in here, press enter, and it takes me through to a different page, which isn't a bad thing, but I've just left the page I was on. Whereas what they've brought in now is it happens live. So what I have lower down in the page here is this little search box. And if I just type in Tokyo without even pressing anything, it shows me in a live sense the 4 most recent posts about Tokyo. However, 4's not enough. We have more posts about Tokyo on this website. And as Will was saying, he thinks it was limited to 5 previously. I just chose 4 here just because it was in a grid like that. It looks nicer. But what you can do now is put in a pagination option. And if you have a website that has a blog grid on, like this one here for all Gold Coast stories, we show the first 12, and then we have this pagination option at the bottom. So I want to go to the next page. I click on that. It's just bringing in that, but in your live search option. So easy to set that up as well. Go to your page, and if you've already set up your live search box, click on that search box over here on the left, go to additional settings. Pagination is the thing that's now been added in. And then choose your type, whether you want numbers, previous next, or numbers, previous next. So let's just go for numbers. And then page limit. This is how many numbers you'll see along the bottom. Let's just up it to 10. I don't think people will ever go beyond number 10 if they're looking. And you don't even need to publish the page and make it live to see how that is working. You can just see in the editing version. So now when I type in Tokyo, Let's see what happens at the bottom of it. There we go. Here's the pagination. And you can even click on it in the editing version. So it's showing me the first 4. It's all in date order. So the 4 most recent. Click on number 2. The next 4, number 3. The next one's after that. So it's just adding in extra navigation. You have a user who comes to your website. They want to read quite a few different things about Tokyo. This just gives them that option to search through it all in the live sense rather than going to another page. And that is it. Those are the only 2 updates. Not a lot to talk about there, but 2 pretty useful ones. And if you haven't used the live search option yet, make sure you set it up. If you want some tips on that, go on our YouTube channel and watch the last one. So back over to you, Will, and I can't figure out how to stop sharing now. Oh, there is. Stop share. Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for the demos. You've actually got some questions, John. Do you want to take them first in chat?
Sorry, I was muted. Questions. Is the loop template using on your type head different to the loop template on the page for the larger bits? What's this related to? Bridget, can I ask you to
Explain it.
Yeah, sorry.
So when you were doing your type ahead, you had the 2x2 grid, but on the right-hand side, you had the 3 by however many. Is that template different to your type ahead template?
This is in the Tokyo one, sorry?
Yes, Tokyo.
Yeah. Let me just share that one back then. So what I have here is just 4 columns, and then I've put this one in the column over here on the left. And that is static, meaning that if anybody comes to this page, that will always stay there. And rather than having the pagination option at the bottom, I just have the load more on this one. So it then kind of bring in those. The template that I have set up for this one, yes, that is the same. I think I potentially set it up slightly differently just because it's the same setup, basically. But obviously, as you can see, the typography is slightly smaller. The ratio of the image is almost identical. One may be a 3x2, one may be a 4x3 there. I'm not sure. But I think I just took what I'd done for this one on the right-hand side and just recreated it super fast.
So 2 different ones.
Yeah, so they are different just on the basis that if I just use that one, I mean, I wonder if I can actually, let me see if I go in this one. I can't remember how I did this. Where do I get my, oh, there's the template, choose template. If I changed it to another one, it's going to break this client's website right now. No, it is the same one.
So how did you do the font change?
Good question. It's a while ago I built this one. It's because I don't know. Let me take a look at that while Will's talking through his part. Yeah, because I'm just putting it here. I would have assumed they did it as a different one, but if I've just put the word loop in there, unless it's because I didn't use the word loop, maybe I've called the other one something else, like post or blog or something. That might be what it is. Could be that one, blog alt template. No, that's just a. I like the way I didn't actually have an answer because I can't remember what I did. I think I just called it something different. I'm going to say the simple answer to that is they are 2 different things just because of the size of the typography in there. But I will look into it and I'll get back to you. And let you know what I did there. Let me just make sure I didn't accidentally save that page. Okay. And what are the other questions on this, or was that the only one? So
yeah, Bridget's got another question on off-canvas dynamic menu.
Yeah, that one was more around when Will was introducing it. It got me thinking, is there an easy way? So I used to do pop-ups for smaller events, just for like your exhibitors, your sponsors, or your speaker bios, because you don't want to move your people too fast around the website. But what I found was it was kind of like a black box when I was trying to figure out who was popular in my reporting. So is there a way that, I don't know, if you can do tracking on which ones are being clicked on?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure, but if you're using Google Tag Manager, you should be able to tag each of those links
Yeah.
for those and track it using Google Tag Manager. But I don't think there's anything native in Elementor that will allow you to track the clicks.
So does that mean if you have, say, 200 speakers, each one you've got to add a track onto each one?
Mm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right, thanks.
Bridget, I do have an answer to that. They are different. I just looked at it then. The other one was called blog alt. So yeah, I did set them up as the same thing. But if you want to do it the same and then just go in and change the typography size, you can just go into the theme builder. And then if you go into the theme builder, just build a new one and just use the original template, as you normally would if you're doing anything in the theme builder. So just do it that way and then just call it something slightly different and then just change the headline, the heading size. Simple as that, really. So yes, sorry I couldn't answer that straight away because I couldn't actually remember what I did. As I said, I built that over 3 months ago before we did the last videos. I don't really remember what I did.
So good. Thanks, John.
No worries.
Let me just go through the rest of my slides and then we'll pick up on any other questions because there's one there from Steve. And we'll circle back to those. So I've done my predictions for 2025. I have no idea if these are correct or not. John and I are in the Discord or WhatsApp server for the Elementor team, but this is not based on that. This is just what I think they could possibly put in for next year. Okay. Number one is enhanced AI integration. Everyone's jumping on AI. So I'm presuming at some point in 2025, then there's going to be more AI stuff because what can be better than some AI is more AI. So why is that likely? It's because AI-driven tools, becoming standard now in web design platforms. So potential features you might want to see is AI-powered content suggestion for text, images, and layouts, particularly layouts. You might get automated performance optimization recommendations as well. So things like lazy loading or image compression could be kind of built in. You just ask AI to do that and it applies it across the template. Or smart design suggestions based on user inputs or industry trends. So for example, Bridget, you're in the event management space. You could potentially ask AI for design suggestions based on your particular niche, and it would come up with, some standard websites are using this and that. So I think those are potential features, AI features that could come into Elementor next year. The next one is expanded WooCommerce features. We know that that's going to be the case because there's a WooCommerce builder in the beta for that. E-commerce remains a critical focus for Elementor users. So many people build on top of WooCommerce platform with the Elementor. So potential features that might be there is dynamic pricing table widgets, being able to really kind of change the way that the pricing is shown in WooCommerce. Enhanced product recommendation tool. So similar to the blogs, you've read this blog, so here you've recommended blogs. So similar to that thing, but for products. So kind of more AI enhanced. You've been looking at these sort of stuff. So here we recommend this, a bit like Amazon does. And definitely, I think, improved analytics dashboard directly within Elementor. I think we could use AI to really track what users are clicking on and doing and give you some really good company analytics within Elementor itself. The next one I think might be quite likely is more advanced form builder. And we know that that's a kind of pending in the works thing on their roadmap. But why is it likely to become true? Because forms, is the primary lead generation tool that you have when you're building a website to connect with people, to gather names, email addresses, and get them onto your email list. So potential features that might be added, multi-step form enhancement with conditional logic would be lovely to have. Integration with additional CRMs and marketing tools. I think there's a lot of new tools that have come on the horizon And I'm thinking specifically kind of AI enhanced tools as well that kind of takes that marketing to that next level. So I think we could see more of that within the form builder, and real-time validations against spammers. I've actually got a little plugin, a little bit of a shameless plug. It's called something like Spam Blocker for Elementor Forms, but it allows you to put in domain names like Hotmail or Yandex or all that kind of rubbish stuff that people just get temporary emails and then spam you for. And so it allows you to stop people filling out the form for particular domains or email addresses. But I think that could be handled in real time with Elementor directly. So yeah, that could be kind of part of the form builder, I think. The next one is more accessibility features. Accessibility and compliance is becoming a standard expectation in modern web design, especially if you're building for clients. Potential features that could come out in 2025 is real-time accessibility audit tools for content and layouts. So as you're building your features, then you've got Elementor in the background saying, "Oh, wait a minute, this thing's not targeted for accessibility. You want to do this and do that." A good example of that is Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms did an update second half of this year, maybe around the middle of the year. So now when you're building stuff in Gravity Forms, it actually tells you that, if you start clicking off stuff, like, for example, if you remove the label, Gravity Forms will say, well, good on you for doing that, but it's not accessible for form readers and stuff. So we could see the same thing coming in with Elementor. Built-in guidance for things like WCAG 2.1 standards. So, that's the kind of minimum that you'd want to do for content and compliance. Again, you could have like built-in reminders. So if you're removing stuff to make it look nice, then it could maybe warn you to say, well, that you're encroaching on becoming inaccessible for compliance. And things like advanced keyboard navigation support for widgets. So being able to specify exactly what keyboard shortcuts that you can assign to widgets, that would be really good. Next one is dynamic content and advanced query builder. So catering more to advanced developers and agencies, this one. My thoughts would be a query builder enhancements with more sophisticated bespoke filtering. So they've done a good job on the querying, but sometimes we want a little bit more, maybe even conditional logic builder when you're building up your queries there. Perhaps new dynamic tag options as well for custom content integration. I love the dynamic tags, but I think you could do more with dynamic tags. And recently, I was trying to get a recent client, they've got I built a custom post type for them. It's an institution. And what I wanted to do was being able to edit that on the front end, but there's no way I could pass the form ID across. It doesn't come up as a dynamic tag. So I actually built a new dynamic tag just for that particular custom post type. But having that in the editor, so, because I'm a developer, I can do that. But, if you're not a developer, you can't do that. But being able to specify new dynamic tags within the Elementor builder would be really, really good, I think, for end users to be able to do, designers. And simplified workflows for managing those custom post types and taxonomies. At the moment, it's an option that you get to do that, but again, it relies a lot on being a developer and really kind of going under the hood and assign all those custom taxonomies and custom post types. Being able to do that within the editor, even if it was like a more advanced editor that you switch on and switch off, I think would be a great addition to Elementor. Team collaboration features. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not an agency, so I don't have, 6 people working on the same page at the same time, but I can see where it could come in useful from maybe building the site scaffolding and layouts and things. It's already in the planning phase, so it kind of aligns with the kind of team-based design needs that Elementor's going for. They're kind of really going for like an agency spot, I think, as well. So potential features, real-time editing and comments and drafts. We know that's coming to Gutenberg soon in this phase, so Elementor is probably going to build on top of that. Role-based permissions for team members as well, and maybe version control, some sort of version control and activity tracking. So you can go in, and this might be just good for single developers. If you go in to a client's website, just say they've had a developer in there for 6 months and suddenly they've just kind of gone incognito, ghosted them. Being able to go in and see exactly what somebody's done previously, and why they've got to this point would be really useful. So some sort of version control and activity tracking for widgets and editors, I think would be quite useful as a team collaboration feature. Number 7, focus on performance and core web vitals. This is like an ongoing thing. Elementor actually have a specific team that are looking into image performance. They're actually working with the Google teammate, the people who do the core web vitals. So I think that's going to be more of that in the future. Elementor has really been bogged down with a particular blog post. I think it was 2 years ago that said it was slow and sluggish, and it's going to get, if you had your website in Elementor, you're going to get knocked out of your SEO position. So they took that on board and they've made a lot of performance enhancements, and I think you're going to just keep seeing more of the same there. But potential features might be like automatic image and video optimization tools. We've seen they've released their paid plugin that optimizes images, but we could see something similar for video as well. Additional lazy loading capabilities and maybe some faster rendering of inactive elements, kind of stuff that's kind of below the fold. Number 8, my prediction is integration with emerging tools. I think Elementor often does a good job at keeping pace with popular tools, but I think with the AI revolution, there's just a whole ton of tools coming out all the time that are being taken up by people. So things like improving integration with tools like OpenAI and all the different add-ons and things that they've got on. I think you're going to see more of that next year. Expand the APIs again, maybe go for headless WordPress setups as well, so you can then kind of build the backend that editors are using, but then also integrate with the headless side as well. We could see extended APIs, particularly just for pairing away and making the website headless, but pulling the information from Elementor. And integration with web accessibility platforms like Userway or Accessibility as well. Again, just kind of going more into the accessibility and AI and just being able to really kind of enhance your workflow with your website. Number 9 out of 10 is custom animation libraries. Why is that likely? We're seeing quite a lot of animation focus, especially from Elementor. And again, this is focusing on the new or the enhanced CSS abilities that's coming in. There's more animation, there's more library stuff that's coming into CSS, there's more transitions and tracks and all that sort of thing. So I think we're going to see more custom animation libraries, things like an expanded library maybe of pre-built animations. So rather than just the controls that allow you to change the X, Y, Z things, actually kind of pre-built animations in those, maybe AI prompted. More granular control over animation timings and triggers, so depending on what other widgets are doing or where the mouse is, or maybe a response from a UI, from a user on a UI tool. And then support for SVG and lotties as well with custom settings, I think would be good. Lastly, number 10, what I'd like to see, or what I think we might likely see in Elementor next year, again, is improved styling and CSS management. Simplifying design workflows, bringing those into your themes, like having a default theme, but having, styling and CSS kind of all set and pre-built in for those. Again, we know that CSS variables is in the beta, in the roadmap. So I think we're going to see that quite big in 2025. Even things like support for dark mode, like toggles across themes. Dark mode's being super popular in the last couple of years. So we could see Elementor kind of following that trend, having like a dark mode setting for widgets. And general easier duplication and syncing of styles across different widgets, especially when we're seeing the global CSS variables. I think we can start to see kind of more syncing in styles of that. So those are my top 10 possible 2025 features based on kind of current web trends, what's happening, things that is in the roadmap already, but also trends that I'm kind of seeing across web design from the last couple of years. Next, so to kind of complement my top 10, what we could see in there, I've got Will's top 5 issues, Elementor problems with solutions on how to do it. This is sort of things that I hear from clients all the time. So here's the top 5. One is Elementor widgets not loading properly. So the solution there is to optimize your Elementor site, reduce the CSS, the JavaScript loading, enable the optimized DOM experiment as well. That would be good. But also look at caching plugins like WP Rocket or W3 Total Cache or even Cloudflare as well. So when you're developing websites, then ideally you want to turn off all your caching until it's all ready. But those are some things to look at. So when your Elementor widgets don't load in, those are the kind of things you should be looking at. You know, is there any CSS or JavaScript errors? Turn off all your caching and then just try it again. Number 2 is your style is not changing and not reflecting on the live site. This seems to be a major problem for some people. When you go into the Facebook group or the Discord servers, at least half a dozen people saying, oh, the last Elementor update ruined all my website and I had to do all the CSS again. I don't know why. I don't know exactly why, but if this is a problem with you, then there's quite a lot of level of caching throughout websites. So you want to clear your browser, especially on mobile. Mobiles are really heavy on caching, so you want to delete all the cache there. You can always go to Elementor tools and regenerate the CSS, but just remember you've got to delete all that cache for the CSS to then be reloaded in. Now, I've been working with WP Engine clients recently, and on WP Engine, they've actually got a huge number of caching. They've got web browser cache, they've got site cache, they've even got a network and location cache as well. So I was doing dynamic stuff for a client who's launching into the UK. So there's stuff that will display and will redirect between, depending on where people's location is. But WP Engine even caches that where your location is. So it's always good to go into your web hosting if this is still not working and just see what sort of caches they have in there, just clear everything from there. Number 3, top problem is the Elementor editor itself fails to load. This is mostly due with conflict with themes or plugins. What you'll find behind the scene is that maybe someone's updated a plugin, they're using a whole bunch of memory, and now the Elementor doesn't have enough memory to load in. Or you'll go into your JavaScript console and it's trying to load something else, but someone has already redefined that JavaScript variable or is playing around with the global stuff, and you're like, no. So basically, where to go, you can always try safe mode in Elementor. Safe mode will load it in with the bare minimum, and it should tell you what it can't load in. But if not, then you want to hit your debug log and you want to go into your JavaScript console and just see if there's any errors coming in along there. And again, if that fails and Elementor still doesn't load in, then, you know, it's the old switch your theme back to 2020 something, disable all your plugins and enable them one by one and see which one is causing the conflict. I hate doing that. I hate telling people to do that, but it really is one of the only ways, you know, if things still don't work, is to find out exactly where the problem is, disable everything and re-enable them one by one. Another common problem is internal server error. So this is generated by the server, and it's usually due to PHP memory limits, or maybe your HT access file has been corrupted, or you've got weird stuff in there that's redirecting to multiple places. The only thing you can really do here within your control, if you're not hosting your website on a VPS, is to increase your PHP limit. You might want to look at your HT access file, maybe remove it and rename it to something else just now to see if that fixes the issue. Otherwise, if you're really, really lost, then it's going to be a support call to your web host to see, again, they can look at the server log files and maybe track down what's happening. But it doesn't happen very often, but it does crop up in the Facebook groups. I see this coming up as internal server error. And it's usually after someone's updated, you know, a huge amount of plugins or themes or WordPress core that's been maybe a few versions back, you know, so they're upgrading like multiple things at once. The last one is an unresponsive publish and update button. I've actually had this happen quite a few times. And it's usually either a JavaScript issue or it's a PHP memory issue again. So the way that WordPress works is when it loads in a page, a PHP page, PHPs have lots of global variables and they have, I'm trying to think, what you call them, vars, min vars, I think they're called. And all that stuff is stored in memory. And if you got too much in there, then it runs out of that storage space and things can get missed out. So things like publish button update, when that trigger can get missed out with the variable, and then it just becomes non-responsive. You're clicking on it and it's doing absolutely nothing at all. So what you want to do here is just go back to it's a bit the same as the last one, internal server error. You want to try increasing your PHP memory limit. Install CSS certificate as well. That can help because it prioritizes security stuff in your memory vars. So things that are like the publish and update become higher in priority when you're publishing it, because it's a SSL published now rather than just a normal host. Your web server will prioritize those. So those are kind of things you can try. If you got those, again, you'll be looking at JavaScript console to try and see if there's any errors coming up as well that might conflict with the trigger for those publish and update button. The one that was me was actually the PHP memory. So someone had installed, I think it was Event Calendar Pro and another couple of plugins that just eaten up all the memory for that. So that was a quick find for me. So those are my top 5. Let's just do the discussion. We'll go back. If you've got any questions about any of this for tonight or just general stuff, then we can see if we can deal with those and help you out. Oh my goodness, lots of questions. Excellent.
Excellent. Well, just jump in. I completely agree with what you said about the JavaScript. Almost always those problems are JavaScript, because JavaScript being single thread, it really does not handle errors very well. So you might be loading 30 plugins. It loads 10 of them, and on the 11th, it has a JavaScript error, and it just gives up on all the others, and nothing works after that.
Yep.
Yeah, so you really, really want to look at your JavaScript errors. You may not be able to fix it, but at least it'll tell you, might give you a clue as to what plugin it was running when the error occurred, and you can try disabling that one. But yeah, if you've got a JavaScript error, you're going to have a bad day.
Yeah, I've also seen plugins that manipulate $post and $global for WordPress stuff. And once you start messing around with the globals, then that's a recipe for disaster. Steve had a question. Have any of you experienced a situation where the loop grid function for your blog page shows up nicely, but when you click on the read more, the only post that comes up is that for the latest blog post? Interesting.
I saw that one, Steve, and I kind of remember this, and I'm like, yeah, I did have that problem at one point. So I just quickly looked into it, and I think something has been updated in Elementor that we were not aware
Yes,
of.
I think you're right, because last week this was a problem, and today it's no longer a problem. So they
So
fixed
the
it
issue,
because
yeah,
the central gal over here, because I run with that crowd of people. She called Verdi and said, "Hey, we got this problem on this one of our guys' sites, and what's the story?" And so they, whatever, and they quickly shuffled and whatever they did, so it's not a problem anymore. So thanks.
Oh yeah, the thing that wasn't possible before, and this is why it was interesting you brought this up, was if you had an archive page. So obviously I've just brought up one of these archive pages to show you, which is just categories/Tokyo. You were previously not able to put the loop grid in there. You could only put in this one, which was called archive post. You couldn't add the loop grid. You're working on your archive page and you put the word loop in, it was not there. Now you can put it in there, and then again choose your template for that. So let's just choose that one that I found out was the one I was using there. It's called blog alt. And then publish that. And as you can see in here, it has those read more buttons, but it wouldn't work before because that wasn't possible on an archive page. Now, if I relaunch this archive page, category/Tokyo, it's there on top of the old one.
That's badass.
And if I click on read more, A is for a more read, it goes through to that one. So basically that is an update that I was not aware of before, that you couldn't use loop grid on archives, but now.
because I did it that way, the way you said to do it originally, right? And I said, okay, I'm not going to worry about it because the blog was kind of stagnant. Well, the owner of the bartending schools decided he wants to write some more, and because he's got competition, we want to stomp him out, and all that. So he said, is there a way that I could just make? Or I said, yeah, I'm going to just go use a loop grid, so they don't have to worry about a new blog post all the time and making sure that it shows up correctly, right? So I set it all up to get the excerpt and everything's going to be great. Shows up perfectly. I was showing the other Elementor leader over here, and I said, hey, what's going on here? Sharon, what's happening? And she's like, Steve, I seem to recall that not working. There's a problem with that too. Can you go and just make the archive thing, right? So I do the post archive thing, and all's good, just like you said, but I couldn't get the damn CSS to equalize the post cards, right? The card that the post pictures on and all that. And so I had to do the custom CSS there, and took a couple extra seconds that I really didn't want to because it looked really beautiful doing it the way the loop grid. That's what I was telling you guys. That's why I said it looks really good. But when I click on it, or even like if I click on the facets at the top to separate the different categories of the blog posts, I would end up going back to the history of mezcal. I'm like, dude, there's 50 pages on this, 50 different blog titles. How come I keep going to history of mezcal on here? It's horrible. So yeah, okay. And then we couldn't
it's very useful.
why.
I like the loop grid just because you have more control over the way it looks, whereas the archive post was always using a template, which you kind of get it as close as possible as you wanted to your loop grid, but it
wasn't
didn't
perfect though.
Creative
no,
stuff.
I agree with you.
But I was not aware of that. That may have just been a hidden update that no one.
Well, it's weird because it like I said, it was working fine, and then all of a sudden this summer I was like, "What's going on?" And I kind of got blown off by it because there was other important stuff. It didn't really matter, and then I run into this issue just a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then today, just so I'd have it ready to share to show you guys, because I sorted it out with the archive, but I wanted to show you this loop grid thing, and I was going to show it to you, and I went back and looked, and it's working. So that's the. I didn't have anything to say, but it was just really weird. And that's been my pain point with Elementor. I've been a long time user, like 2019. So I would like to say it's great, but I gave him a rash of it at WordPress USA in Portland this past September and said, man, like you guys really, y'all decided you couldn't do sections anymore. You had to do containers, and it had to be this, it had to be that. You keep pushing the edge, and you keep it expanding. Why don't you just get what you got? Perfect, and then worry about adding a new feature. But anyway, that's not what this meeting's about. But I appreciate your input because I was just wondering if I was insane or not. And
No. It's just sort of look, this is the Elementor. They know how we want it to work, and then they release a new thing, and it will just take them a few goes to get it working perfectly.
We just have to complain enough to them so they know.
Figure that part out, and they've obviously figured that part out. So patience is always important, I find, with anything from Elementor.
Yeah, clients don't have much patience when they're paying you. So yeah, I get it. But yeah. Especially when it was working before, and they keep bragging about the loop grid. So that's why I wanted to use it. But anyway, thanks.
It's interesting because Elementor moves really fast. They're almost like that Facebook mantra, work fast and break things. Whereas Beaver Builder, which I used before Elementor, they were almost the opposite. They would just release every quarter, but they would test. So you could always say that that was more stable. But Elementor, they move really quickly, and it's such a big beast now that I'm sure, once you add something or change something, then something else breaks down the line.
Well, they were this year, they were very, very nice. A couple years ago in San Diego for WordCamp USA, we returned after COVID. They weren't very nice. This, at least to me, and this year they were very nice with all my, complaints or concerns, I guess. And they spent a lot of time with me addressing and telling me exactly what's up. And, of course, it's been a couple of years. They had to fire a lot of people and all that. Y'all know that. But, so I'm pleased. So I use Bricks and I use the Asterisk, the Brainstorm Force mostly now. But I have 200 sites in Elementor, so I can't just forget about it,
Excellent. Martin had a question. Adding Shopify to your site this week, and their buy now button works. However, is there any more native support such as elements, etc.? So, Martin, are you saying that you use the Elementor buy now button, or do you embed Shopify buy now button?
I embedded the Shopify button, and it came with a bunch of JavaScript and everything. So there was a whole bunch of code that I just transposed into the HTML element, which it worked well. But I was hoping there's a little bit more to show the status of the cart and a few things like if you work on the Shopify site rather than on a Elementor site, they've got a lot of support there that ties the cart with the site much better. And I was hoping there's something similar to that in Elementor.
Why were you using the Shopify with the WordPress site?
Probably pure luck of things that came my way, I think.
Oh, so no, not WooCommerce or anything, like you don't want to use a WordPress solution?
I think, possibly in Australia, maybe in Brisbane, Shopify have marketed quite well. So I took it up as an easy solution because I didn't want to struggle to get a shop cart working. And it did work very well.
Well, it's an alternative to WordPress is the only reason why I'm asking. It's usually you don't combine WordPress and Shopify into one site.
Oh, okay, right. Is that the thing? Yeah. I think that, our site has been on Elementor WordPress for a long time. So I wanted to keep that, especially since I migrated our site to a dark theme recently, which turned out to be really a good decision because we do factory automation, and the dark theme just worked very, very well with that, and the orange robots that we work with. So,
Well,
on the
I
WordPress part of it, it was good, and on the Shopify Press side part of it, it was good in their own right as well. So I tried to combine those two.
Well, you might have to look at some sort of migration from Shopify into WordPress. That would be my suggestion. Shopify to WooCommerce, and then shut down the Shopify site and just move it all onto WooCommerce.
Yes.
That'd be my suggestion. I do a lot of WooCommerce work. That'd be my suggestion. I don't know what Will and John will say, but that's typically what you don't usually combine them.
If I can just jump in just for a sec. I don't know, maybe it's an Australian thing, but I know quite a few sites that are using WordPress and Shopify.
Together and on the Woo.
I like WooCommerce, but yeah, just
is the Shopify a subdomain of the main on WordCommerce on WordPress?
No. Well, Shopify's its own thing, so you just
right. So here's the drill. Like
you just put the links in.
Right, but if I have like Steve.com, and then I have my stores over on Shopify.com, I lose link juice on SEO. It's not a very good strategy, right?
Yeah,
so
I absolutely hear you. I don't know why, but it's not an uncommon
well,
thing.
I would just say if Shopify is big in Australia, and you don't mind your store being in a different site than your main website, and that's what you're comfortable with, then I just put a button to send you to the new domain, which is going to be your Shopify store.
You can embed the products from Shopify into WordPress as well. And the only reason that you would do that is because Shopify, like headless Shopify, like offers socials and like real world posts and stuff like that.
I can get that. Yeah, I understand. Okay, so if you're used to it, then it sounds like Jenny's got an idea. But we would in the States.
I only did it once, and I don't think I'd ever do it again. To be honest.
Yeah. Like I don't know, Martin. I'm not running the show, but I have pretty good experience with that for like 12 years doing WooCommerce stores, or way before it was something else. But been doing it for a minute, and we either suggest you do Shopify or WordPress, and then you use one of the solutions in WordPress.
No, okay. Tommy, just one last thing. The WooCommerce, is that, it looked very, very complex from the outset. That's why I avoided it, but it might not be.
Will's shaking his head because it can be very daunting and complex, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad.
Yeah, there's heaps of tutorials out there. The standard WooCommerce out of the box is okay. But if you're running a proper store, you tend to have to install lots of plugins, things like shipping rates, and all that sort of stuff. So that can be where it starts to get confusing for customers, because the actual WooCommerce itself is okay, but now you start adding this plugin and that plugin and this plugin and that plugin
and all that.
and you're like, well, where do I go for this? And how come this interface is different to set this thing? So it all becomes a big confusing mess. I think WooCommerce should probably think about addressing that issue at some point to get more an integrated solution. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it can be quite complex and overwhelming.
What I just find from a design point of view is using Shopify, there's just a limit to what I can actually do. And I worked on one about 2 years ago for a cycling clothing company. And I was just like, I need to do this. I can't do it. And we just had a developer just to go in and do stuff. Differences in WooCommerce, I can technically do it myself inside an Elementor template. So from a design point of view, I mean, there are still limits, don't get me wrong, but Shopify, there was just limits where it's like there's literally nothing you can do. It needs developing. So,
yeah.
Bridget had a question or a comment on editor fails to load. So an example shared recently with essential add-ons when using a CSV import for a table over 900 rows, it would not load back in. Yep. Switch to SQL import and reduced the memory suck. Yeah, I think you'll find that a lot of these plugins, they just haven't been developed very well. So if you do anything with import, it should be limiting the number of PHP calls that it makes. What you'll tend to find is a lot of them just try and load in the file and just zip through the file, which might be great if you're loading in 20, 25 things, but not so good if you've got a whole customer that's got 3,000 products. It needs to be batched properly. So yeah, that's a shame. But yes, SQL, we always fall back to WP CLI and SQL imports. It's always a good.
Indeed.
Paul says for server 500 errors, regenerate permalink settings. Yep, that can also help as well. I had a client who, for whatever reason, when people were clicking on the menus, it would go nowhere. It was just having the hash on it. And that was a simple go in, permalinks, won't go on that page, come back and it worked. But I have no idea what happened or why it decided to do that. It must have been something at a server level. Yeah, but that was a quick fix for that. What time is it? It is 20 past 7. So if no one has any other questions,
I have one more thing to add,
yeah.
just for Martin. I'm going to put it in the chat because it's Thursdays, regularly Thursdays, Sydney time at 7. I think it's telling me 7 a.m. It's noon in California, but this meetup right there is we call it Woo Wednesday, and there's a pretty good group, about 15 of us, and like probably 4 or 5 of us have extensive Woo commerce, e-commerce, and 2 of us are Elementor leaders, Sharon and myself. So like you can come to that meetup right there, and it's hosted by the same guy every time, Mike Noter, and it's like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but doesn't matter because I'm in Sydney right now, and that's the beauty of Zoom. And it's not crazy time. It's 7 a.m. I mean, I know that's early, but it's not like 3 in the morning or something like that.
Well, that's great. Thanks for that, Steve.
Yes. Many
We meet every Wednesday.
Nice.
Okay.
So if anyone hasn't got any other questions, then I'm going to close for tonight. People are shaking their heads. Nope.
Great job, Will. I appreciate your leadership.
Thanks very much, Steve. Thank you so much for everyone for attending. This has probably been our best meetup in the last 2 years. Right.
Well, as I said, I'm sorry. I thought that you guys went off the grid. I went to that couple meetups early on, a couple like last year or 2. And then I kind of looked for it and I didn't see it anymore. And I was like, what the hell? And then I thought, well, and I follow you on LinkedIn and stuff, but I'm not always on there. But yeah, great. I'll try to come. 11 o'clock's great on a PM for me on Thursday. I'm usually in my office, so I'll come.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Jenny, Paul, Martin, Bridget, Steve, Ashur, I think. he's dropped off. So yeah, thank you very
Oh,
much.
hopefully.
Have a lovely Christmas and New Year, and see you back in 2025, hopefully. But all the best for the new year. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye,
Oh,
guys.
you know what? Wait a second. I want to save the chat. Hold on. Okay,
Yep.
saved it. Thank you.
All
Yes,
done. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Will. Thanks.